Like you know from the topic of this video, we're going to talk about the planet. So this is the planet unit. We have two of them. This is the WBS 502N wireless planet point-to-point. You've been using them for ages in this stage, but there's a new release with the latest firmware that allow you to power up this device 12 volts DC, but also power up from the regular PoE 48 volts. So if you're going to use the 12 volts DC, you just need a 1 amp power supply. That should be sufficient to power them up. Also, when you set them up, before you go and try to log into any of these devices, make sure, like you see, there's a latch here at the bottom that can be opened. That's it. You have the power, you have the PoE, and you have the LAN at the bottom of the unit. So there's also this small, like a dip switch that has to be changed. In a case if one of your devices is an access point, you need to make sure it's set to master, and the second one it's set to slave. So once you have them set up, power them up, then you just need to go to your laptop. What I usually do, I'm powering up first unit and setting them up as an access point. Then I just disconnect not the power, but disconnect the Ethernet port. Just have it powered up, still connected, and then I connect the client to this unit. So let me show you how to do it. So like you see here, I already changed this one. This is going to be my slave unit. I have the power up. Also I have the main access point power up. By default, the IP address of both units, it's 192.168.1.253. So make sure your laptop, your PC will be on the same range before you try to log into one of these. So like I said, first of all, we're going to try to log into to an access point. So let me move on and actually show you the monitor. Here you go. It's the login page of our planet. I'm just going to refresh the page and we're just going to log in. The default password is just admin. Like you see here, this is the main page, and where we're going to go first is the setup wizard. So in this page, we're just going to choose the access point, the AP mode here, and that will allow us to enter the details. So straight away we can change the IP address of this device. Usually when we have them, when you buy them from Fortus, we have them pre-configured for you. But for multiple sites, multiple like connections, if you like, you might need to have more than one pair. So in that case, you might need to, definitely going to need to change the IP address for each one of them to be different. So let me check this one first. So now we have the 192.168.1.2 or 1. That would be our access point. So once we have the access point, we click next. We can call it AP, that's grand, as an access point. Set the encryption just to make it more secured, and Wi-Fi password as well. So this is our details. The most important is this SSID. We can call it like, if you like, Fortus in this case, and our password here. So go ahead, click next. Device will reboot now. So that's the longest part. You always have to wait for the device to reboot after changing those settings. So once we have the settings changed and we're waiting for the reboot, like where you can use this planets and what's the actual distance they can go ahead and you can connect to different LANs together. In the spec that says you can go ahead and have them up to 2 kilometers. Line of sight, obviously there will be no obstacles, no trees. Even now or in a couple of months there will be like bare trees. Make sure that they won't look through the trees, because in the spring and the summer they're never going to work for you. So because of the leaves on the trees. So make sure every single one of them, they're line of sight and they actually align together. Make sure they're actually not talking to each other fully. We can see the quality of the connection later on as well in one of the clients, and how does it look like. And obviously we can adjust the angle of the one of the clients or an access point if you like. Of course you can have multiple points, so you can have one access point and, for example, 3 clients connected together. Imagine you have one access point in one main building and you have 3 other buildings that you like to point at this access point. You just need to be careful with the angle. I would say up to 45 degrees angle it's quite all right. Obviously not for up to like 2 kilometers then, but a few hundred meters there shouldn't be any problem. Also, you need to always be careful about the any wireless that you might be currently on site. It could be any wireless that might be interfering your own Wi-Fi, and you just need to double check. Might need to change the frequency of your Wi-Fi access point just to get yourself nice and clean channel. The other issue you might come across is obviously the power. So if you have like all and you like to daisy chain one access point to the client and then back to back client to an access point, you can of course link them together through the data port, or have the switch on that pole and have them both connected. Here you go, our access point is back online, so we're just gonna log in now. So this is our access point. It's not connected to anything whatsoever right now. So now we're just gonna move on to the client. I'm just gonna need to disconnect my access point from my switch and connect my client. Okay, so my second access point, second client, second unit, it's set by default to 253. So I'm just gonna need to log into it. And again, we just go to the wizard on the left hand side and make sure this dip switch at the bottom of this unit, it's set to slave. And then you just select this repeat mode. And what we have here, you're just gonna scan your network. This client will be looking for any Wi-Fi in the range. We'll be looking for any wireless connection. Just gonna wait for the list to pop up. Once we have it here, you can see there's a Fortis 5G access point. We just select that 5G access point. Make sure the password is correct as well. And we'll go ahead and go next. So let me go ahead and click next. And then again, on this page, we can change the IP address of this second device. So our client, so any other client would be like 203, 204, for example. This is just an example. You can have your own range if you like. It's just the range. I know it's free. So you make sure when you set up this IP address, it's definitely free to go. So again, now we just need to wait for this device to reboot and connect back again to our network. Once we have them all connected in a second, it's like you treat this connection like a bare wire. So you have one device on one end of the Planet Link and the other device on the other on the second one. Once they have the Wi-Fi connected, it's just like a bare wire. So they will start seeing each other. You can log in into the individual devices if you like from one end or another. Usually the access point is set where the DVR is, and the client Planet would be set up where the camera is. And the question is, how many cameras you can actually broadcast via this wireless link? In this case, I would tell you that it all depends on the quality of this connection. The speeds that you have available here, it's up to 300 megabits per second. But again, if the distance it's up to nearly 2 kilometers, those speeds will be much lower then. Again, if there will be multiple cameras on site with like high resolution cameras with lots of bitrate, I would like to push it through. Again, it might not handle it. So like the maximum amount of cameras I ever seen them been broadcasted so far was about 20 cameras, and they were like a daisy chain. So there was like access point to the client, then back to back client to an access point, and so on and so forth. So you could have up to 20 on that weakest link, on the first link, going through that. So here you go. We have this second client back online. So we're just gonna log into it. And we see what we have there. So you see the signal strength, it's really good. It's 16 dBms, and so it's just because they beside each other. And our channel number is 36. That's how we are connecting. And the question is, can I log in to the access point back again? I should be able to. So I'm just going to refresh the access point page, and there we are. So we have our access point. We can see what is the current use, how much is sending and receiving, but also we can see if I'm connected to anything. and if there's any clients connected. So we can see there's one client connected. So this client is the 202 in my case. So this is what is connected to the main unit. Once I have my cameras connected on either end and the recorder as well, I can transmit all that data back to the recorder and record it, all those cameras, no problem whatsoever. You just, as I said, treat that as a burnt cable. So it's really nice piece of equipment. We've been selling those for ages now, since I remember back in the days. The Planet they keep evolving. Like there was only like these injectors that you have to connect. Now we have the PoE that it's 48 volts. You can just power it up straight off the PoE. No more injectors needed for those latest Planets. Or you just use the simple 12 volts DC that you always have handy in advance. In this case, like you see here, the connection, it's really straightforward. Once you have the access point established, the access point is like kind of router in your home. You just need to connect client, which is your second Planet unit, to this access point by knowing the SSID name and obviously the wireless password. Once you have them done and set it up and their line of sight, there'll be no problem whatsoever.